In the vast silence of space, even the smallest change can rewrite everything we think we know. 2 nights ago, something happened that sent shock waves through every major observatory on Earth. The interstellar object known as 3I Atlas, a mysterious traveler from beyond our solar system, suddenly brightened. Not slowly, not gradually, but explosively. In just 6 minutes, its brightness increased 4 times. The flash was so sudden and precise that amateur telescopes across multiple continents recorded it at the exact same moment. Mars orbiters burned fuel to reposition themselves. The Deep Space Network paused ongoing missions, and the International Astronomical Union called an emergency meeting for the first time in years. Scientists who normally shared their observations openly suddenly stopped speaking. Data channels went quiet. Whatever was happening out there was not just another comet outburst. It was something no one could explain, and it was happening in real time. It all began quietly, as most revolutions do. In a small town in Germany, an amateur astronomer named Maria Schultz noticed something strange while observing 3I Atlas through her 12-inch telescope. Her analysis software flagged an anomaly, a sudden vertical jump in brightness. The object had increased by 1.4 magnitudes and stayed at that level for a full 6 minutes. At first, she assumed it was a glitch, but Schultz carefully checked everything. She reviewed her calibration stars, inspected her equipment, and examined atmospheric data. Everything looked perfect. Nothing was wrong. Yet the anomaly remained. Within 30 minutes, observers in New Zealand, Arizona, and Brazil began reporting identical results. Their data showed the same impossible pattern. The light curve wasn't sinusoidal. It wasn't periodic. It was a flat line that suddenly jumped like a heartbeat and then held steady. No comet, asteroid, or known space object had ever behaved like that. For comparison, the famous outburst of Comet 17P/Holmes in 2007 took almost 2 full days to increase in brightness by a similar amount. What Schultz observed happened in less than 1% of that time. By midnight, the hashtag Atlas Anomaly was trending across the internet. Within hours, the global astronomy community was awake and staring at the same question. What could cause such a sudden, perfectly clean burst of light? As the news spread, a chain reaction followed. Online forums and astronomy Discord servers exploded with activity. Screenshots, exposure logs, and brightness graphs appeared everywhere. Observers compared notes, and the results matched perfectly down to the minute. Citizen science platforms like Skywatch Collective went into overdrive, verifying the anomaly across 4 continents. It quickly became clear that this was not a hoax. It was not faulty equipment. Something real had happened. By dawn in Europe, professional observatories had joined the investigation. The Pan-STARRS and Atlas survey telescopes confirmed the brightness spike. Robotic telescopes operating in Chile and Japan verified the same data. Information began streaming into a rapidly growing public database, a digital relay of humanity's curiosity. But then something unusual happened. The professionals took control. The Deep Space Network interrupted routine Mars communications and redirected its massive 70-meter radio dishes toward the coordinates of 3I Atlas. Engineers voted unanimously to override the normal schedule. This meant sacrificing valuable data from missions like the Perseverance rover and even the Voyager probes. In total, the decision cost 22 hours of lost mission time, something that normally only happens when Earth faces a potentially dangerous asteroid flyby. But this wasn't an impact threat. It was only a light anomaly. And yet the most powerful antennas on Earth suddenly turned their attention to a single point in space, as if every nation sensed that something extraordinary was unfolding above us. The coordination didn't stop there. By the next morning, the Very Large Telescope in Chile, Gemini North in Hawaii, and even China's Fast Radio Telescope had all canceled their scheduled observations. Every instrument was redirected toward 3I Atlas. Soon after, the International Astronomical Union voted 8-2 in favor of launching a planetary-scale observation campaign. In a field often divided by funding competition and national priorities, this was an extremely rare act of global unity. For 48 hours straight, humanity's most powerful instruments watched the same mysterious object. And then silence. The astronomers who had been posting hourly updates suddenly disappeared from social media. Private research chats went quiet. No new data appeared on preprint servers. No official statements were released. No leaks emerged. Analysts who track scientific communication noticed something alarming. Online activity from verified astronomers discussing the event dropped by nearly 70%. Something had clearly changed behind closed doors. The few automated logs that did leak out painted an even stranger picture. Radar signals suggested a non-gravitational acceleration 4 times stronger than expected. Infrared readings showed a temperature plateau about 30 Kelvin higher than normal. And faint bursts of gamma radiation appeared exactly at the coordinates of 3I Atlas. None of it made sense. Yet every measurement confirmed the same thing. Within 2 days, the anomaly had evolved into a full-scale mystery. Mars orbiters detected the same infrared excess despite being millions of kilometers away. Ground-based telescopes confirmed the unexpected acceleration. Deep space antennas detected faint echoes pulsing at regular intervals. But the most unsettling detail was not hidden in the data. It was hidden in the reaction. Astronomers who had spent their entire careers studying comets and asteroids suddenly refused interviews. Entire observatories entered silent mode, claiming they were verifying the data. An internal report from the International Astronomical Union, leaked by an anonymous insider, described the event as a synchronized global anomaly requiring immediate containment. No explanation followed, just one directive: maintain continuous observation. For the first time in modern history, nearly every major telescope on Earth was focused on a single object from another star system, an object that, within hours, had forced scientists to reconsider what is natural and what might not be. Then came the discovery that changed everything. Using differential imaging from the James Webb Space Telescope, researchers noticed something unexpected. A second object appeared near 3I Atlas. It was smaller, colder, and perfectly aligned with the main object's trajectory. At first, scientists assumed it was a fragment or a dust cloud, but repeated scans showed something far stranger. The secondary body maintained a constant distance of exactly 120 kilometers from the primary object. It moved in flawless synchronization. It wasn't drifting, it was orbiting. The discovery triggered shock waves across the IU emergency communication channel. A natural object with a companion orbiting that closely should be gravitationally unstable. Yet the pair moved perfectly together, locked as if guided by some invisible system. Even more puzzling was the secondary object's spectral signature. It reflected almost no sunlight. Instead, it emitted faint microwave radiation, a pattern consistent with active heat dissipation. In simple terms, it looked like something regulating its own temperature. At this point, many astronomers stopped calling the object a comet. The official designation quietly changed from 3I/Atlas C/2025 R2 to 3I Atlas Complex. The word complex was carefully chosen. It was an acknowledgement that the object might not be a single body at all, and perhaps not entirely natural. Everything reached a climax when 3I Atlas passed through a position known as nodal alignment, the point where its orbital plane crossed Earth's. At that moment, every telescope, radio dish, and space-based observatory watching it recorded something extraordinary. The pulse frequency increased. The secondary object brightened, and a faint halo formed around both bodies, visible even to amateur astronomers. It wasn't reflected sunlight. It was internal light. Energy appeared to be radiating from within the structure itself. The James Webb Space Telescope recorded diffraction spikes that looked like geometric edges rather than random debris. In other words, the object appeared structured, almost like something unfolding. Spectrographic data showed a sudden temperature drop of 60 Kelvin, suggesting that energy was being redirected inward. And then the impossible happened. For the first time, 3I Atlas emitted a directed radio beam. The signal was narrow, focused, and aimed directly toward Earth's orbital plane. It lasted only 12 seconds, but it wasn't random noise. The signal contained clear structure, repeating patterns and harmonic symmetry far beyond any known natural process. Then it stopped. The light faded. The pulses disappeared. 3I Atlas went silent once again. And across observatories worldwide, one question echoed through the silence. Who, or what, was listening on the other side? Days passed while scientists searched for answers. The 12-second transmission continued to be analyzed by observatories around the world. Finally, one research team broke the silence. Scientists at the Square Kilometre Array Observatory in Australia reconstructed the complete waveform of the transmission using their massive radio network. They expected it to reveal nothing more than cosmic background noise. Instead, they discovered something astonishing. The signal contained a harmonic structure built around the same 247-second pulse that astronomers have been detecting for months. Embedded within that structure were frequency ratios identical to those found in hydrogen spectral lines, the most universal signal in the universe. Hydrogen is everywhere. It is the cosmic alphabet. Any civilization capable of science would recognize it instantly. But the real shock came when the signal was translated into visual form. When converted into a spectrogram, the waveform revealed a repeating geometric pattern, 6 perfect hexagons spiraling outward from a central point of light. The pattern looked almost identical to the latest images of the 3I Atlas complex captured by the James Webb Telescope. The primary object and its companion locked together in formation. The transmission wasn't just a signal. It was a blueprint. When scientists mapped the structure in 3 dimensions, they discovered something even more unsettling. The hexagons corresponded almost perfectly to the orbital architecture of our own solar system. Each hexagon represented a resonance point, a harmonic alignment between planetary orbits. But there was one critical difference. At the center of the pattern was not the sun. It was empty, a void located exactly where 3I Atlas was currently drifting. Scientists became deeply divided. Some argued it was coincidence, a random signal that human pattern recognition had turned into meaning. Others, including Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, proposed something far more unusual. He described the event as a synchronization signal. According to his theory, the transmission was not meant to communicate information in the traditional sense. Instead, it was calibrating something, like a musician tuning an instrument before playing. The signal may have been adjusting the object's interaction with our solar system's gravitational rhythms. If that idea is correct, then the 12-second transmission was not the real message. It was merely a test tone. Then another revelation emerged. As the data spread between research institutions, analysts discovered that Earth's own magnetic field had fluctuated precisely 12 seconds after the beam ended. The same interval, the same pulse. For a brief moment, Earth's ionosphere shifted. The Schumann resonance, the natural electromagnetic frequency of our planet, changed by 0.02 hertz. For most people, the difference meant nothing. But for the scientists studying the anomaly, it was confirmation. The signal had interacted directly with Earth. Across 300 million kilometers of space, 3i Atlas had briefly touched our planet. Official explanations quickly appeared. Instrument errors, solar interference, data misinterpretation. But behind closed doors, a task force called Project Helios, created by the International Asteroid Warning Network, reached a very different conclusion. According to their internal report, the directed beam was not random. It was a response. Weeks earlier, when amateur astronomers first detected the brightness anomaly, thousands of telescopes, satellites, radars, and communication networks had turned toward the object at the same time. Together, they produced a massive burst of electromagnetic noise. That noise bounced off the object. 3i Atlas had not simply brightened. It had illuminated us back. And now it is silent. No pulses, no gamma bursts, no acceleration. The interstellar traveler drifts quietly beyond Mars, moving deeper into the darkness. The data has been classified. The world has moved on. But among the astronomers who first noticed the mysterious 247-second rhythm, one question still remains. What happens when that frequency returns? What if the next signal isn't light, but something else? Because maybe 3i Atlas never came here to visit. Maybe it came here to synchronize. And if that idea makes you question what might really be happening out there in the universe, don't look away. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because if the signal returns, and many scientists believe it will, you'll want to be here to hear it. Rocket Milky Way.